Shintaro was a zero Riz loser who lived alone until a helpless angel landed in his house. However, since she had no place to go, she refused to leave him and became the ultimate housewife that spoiled him rotten, making him fall deeply in love with her. It all began one early morning when Shintaro's alarm woke him up. Feeling a bit ill, he decided to pour himself a cup of milk from the fridge. Soon, he discovered he had forgotten to close his window the previous night, and when he went to do so, he was shocked to find a total hotshotty lying on the floor balcony outside. Thinking she was dead, he panicked, tripped, and spilled some of his cream on her magnificent melon truck and luscious thighs. Soon, the feeling of his sloppy juices on her body woke her up, and she wished him a good morning. Sometime later, she retreated to his bathroom to wipe his cream from her legs and chest. While she was occupied, Shintaro sat outside panicking. He thought she was a cosplayer or prankster and wondered if this drama was going to end up on YouTube, prompting him to shut the window shutters just in case there were hidden cameras. Just then, she came out wearing a swimsuit and asked him for some dry clothes to wear, but after searching for a while, he could only find a pitiful shirt for her. The girl thanked him and then introduced herself as Toa before apologizing for sleeping on his balcony without permission. Shintaro then asked Toa why she slept on his balcony, but she simply leaned forward, telling him she wished to repay his kindness by doing anything he wanted.
Yeah, boy.
This caused her melons to almost spill out of the shirt, sending blood rushing to Shintaro's second head. He declined her offer, but she insisted on aiding him, and in an attempt to help him clean his house, she uncovered the glazed e-girl stash.
You got me.
Just as he scrambled to hide them, he heard her scream and saw her breaking up a fight between two cats, which resulted in an injury to her hands. After bandaging her fingers, he asked if she lived close by. However, she told him that she was from heaven and was an angel sent by God to study humans and had nowhere to go, pleading that he let her stay with him. When Shintaro heard this, he panicked that she might be a nutcase who had gotten loose from the psych ward. Soon, a work reminder rang, and using work as an excuse to leave the house, he told her she could not stay and kicked her out. As he locked the door, she still thanked him for his earlier kindness, which made him wonder if he was doing the right thing. Later that afternoon, Shintaro had a fever and was returning from work. On his way, he thought about Towai and wondered if he would ever see her again. Just then, she walked by him with a chubby fatso, and when she noticed him, she stopped to greet him. Shintaro, curious, asked if the man with her was her dad, but she told him the lecher had offered to take her to a hotel to show her some sausage-bending techniques. This prompted him to grab her hand and run off with her. After running for a while, he suddenly collapsed like a Disney princess on the floor due to his fever. Later that day, he woke up in his room on his bed and found a worried Toa looking after him. She began to cry happily because he was finally awake and feeling better. Then she fed him some porridge she had made, and Shintaro wondered when in his life he had ever felt this good. After some thought, he allowed her to stay with him and thanked her for hauling his behind home. But she told him she had flown there with his body, and this time she revealed her angel wings, which caused him to faint. The next morning, he woke up thinking it was a fever dream, but was shocked to see her beside him with little wings. Later that day, he curiously asked her what role angels played. She told him she was primarily a messenger from God who helped to save souls, explaining that angels were to make humans happy. While she did not know exactly how to do that yet, she believed she was sent by God to learn. That evening, they went to a supermarket to buy some ingredients and supplies. However, he noticed her looking at a cute cat mug, but she returned it, not wanting to seem too needy. As they walked around the market, she began to draw attention because of her outfit, and Shintaro decided to get her some new clothes. After getting some clothes for her, she went in to change, and while she did, she thought about how to repay him. So she went to meet him at the checkout and proposed to make him happy. On returning home, she noticed the cat mug among the groceries, and when he revealed it was a gift for her, she was overjoyed. That night, they had to share the small bed, and Shintaro regretted not prioritizing buying a second one when he had the chance. Before any of this, when Toa had just arrived at Tokyo, she was amazed by how beautiful it looked at night and flew around the city. Soon, she began to think about how to make contact with humans and remembered a guidebook she had read which gave her two options. The first was to show everyone her wings while high in the sky and start a Twitch fan club and an Only Wings subscription. This second was boring and involved blending in with the humans and secretly living among them. She chose the second option, and as she wandered about, she got sleepy. Soon, she arrived at Shintaro's building and then flew up to his balcony, after which fell asleep. Back in the present, Toa told Shintaro how she wound up on his balcony while she cooked dinner for him. When she was done, he was so amazed at how good the food tasted, so he complimented the dish and asked how she had learned to cook, to which she replied that she had learned it from a guidebook. As he ate, he remembered the promise she had made at the market and wondered if life was supposed to be this good. Once they finished, Shintaro then explained to Toa how to use the bath. After he left her to bathe, his imagination ran wild. Desperate to distract himself from picturing her in her birthday suit, he tried watching TV and even attempted to knock himself out, but he failed to stop his racing thoughts. He finally found focus by studying for an English quiz, successfully pushing Toa out of his mind. However, nature called, and he accidentally walked in on Toa. Flustered by the view, he fled and apologized, though Toa offered to let him use the restroom while she finished. That evening, while Shintaro was bathing, she returned the favor by offering to scrub his back. sending him into another panic as he quickly rejected the offer. Later that night, Shintaro tried to sleep, but he could not focus because Towa was sleeping right beside him. He wondered again why he hadn't bought another bed and planned to buy one as soon as possible. The next day, he woke up feeling tired and went to use the bathroom, only to see her in her swimsuit again. And Shintaro ran outside flustered, apologizing for walking in like that. That morning, while he brushed his teeth, he concluded that seeing her almost undressed twice in one morning wasn't good for his health, and so to prevent further incidents, Shintaro planned to make some ground rules. He then decided to take a dump, but as he pulled his pants down, Towa walked into the bathroom and saw him dropping a hot load. At breakfast, Shintaro was clearly sleep-deprived but still enjoyed the meal prepared by Towa, thanking her for it. Just then, an early morning program came on the TV, and he realized he was late for school. When he informed Towa, she immediately wanted to clean up and come with him. However, he declined and told her it would disturb people if she followed him. She insisted on coming anyway, and even advised him to take a day off, but he finally convinced her to let him go to school alone. Before leaving, he made her promise that she would not leave the house, and told her to watch TV until he got back. On his way to school, he realized just how underslept and tired he truly was. Suddenly, his friend, a dunce called Shuichi, smacked him from behind, which irritated him. His classmate, a girl named Tsumugi, saw this and scolded Shuichi while worriedly asking Shintaro if he was alright. She noticed he looked pale and pointed this out to Shuichi, who asked him if he had been possessed by a demon. As they walked together, he told them that he just hadn't gotten enough sleep. Tsumugi, who had a crush on Shintaro, worriedly told him he should just skip school. This led Shuichi to tease her for being super nice to Shintaro, but she insisted it was the least a friend could do. As they teased each other, Shintaro laughed and told them they looked like a married couple. This creeped out Tsumugi, who shut down the idea immediately, telling him never to mention it again. And this made Shuichi tell her that her overreaction to their marriage actually hurt his feelings. Meanwhile, Towa acted like a stay-at-home housewife as she had already done the laundry and cleaned the whole place. But since she had nothing to do, she was numb with boredom and also became hungry. Just then, she remembered that Shintaro hadn't packed a lunchbox and worried that he was probably starving to death. At school during lunch break, Shintaro and his friends were in the cafeteria having lunch. Tsumugi expressed her concern that he was only having juice for lunch and worried that he didn't eat properly even at home. He told her not to worry, but he could not bring himself to tell them that Towa cooked for him at home. Shuichi tried to make a joke about it, but she called him an idiot and then shyly offered to cook lunch for Shintaro herself. He was amazed when he found out she made her own meals, which caused her to blush when he praised her for it. She quickly told him that she didn't mind making extra for him, but when Shuichi tried to get in on the deal, she ordered him to stand aside like a filler character and bug off. When he saw them bicker like an old married couple, Shintaro began to laugh. Just then, he saw Towa flying outside the window and screamed. He quickly got up and covered the window so they wouldn't see her, telling her to go to the roof. His friends asked what the matter was, but Shintaro excused himself and left, prompting Shuichi to guess that he probably had a date with a baddie. This statement made Tsumugi jealous, and she knocked Shuichi out for it. On the roof, Shintaro was distressed and reminded Towa that he had warned her not to come to school, wondering how the world would react if they saw an angel flying about. Towa was saddened by Shintaro's reception and dropped the lunchbox, telling him to eat it if he wanted to. But as she walked away, her stomach began to roar like a dragon. This made him apologize for his behavior, and he invited her to share lunch with him, which made her happy. As they ate, he complimented the meal and realized she was actually trying to be discreet when coming to the school. He noticed a dish in the box that he had mentioned liking the previous night and thanked her for making it. She smiled and told him she wanted to make him happy by cooking lots of delicious meals for him, leaving Shintaro to wonder what he ever did to deserve an angel like her. That afternoon, Shintaro returned from school and thanked Towa for bringing him lunch. When he discovered she had done the laundry, he was amazed that she knew how to operate the washing machine. Seeing this, she proudly told him she had learned how to use it from her guidebook. Suddenly, he was shocked to notice that she had washed his underwear as well. He thanked her for it while trying his best not to cringe or upset her, but then she informed him that she had even mended his torn underwear with a cute bear stitch. This sent Shintaro into a total mental overdrive, leading him to plead with her to let him handle anything underwear-related from then on. Elsewhere, Tsumugi was taking a bath at home. Earlier that day, she had spotted Towa flying to the school to deliver the lunchbox earlier that day, which made her incredibly jealous. She contemplated asking Shintaro who Towa really was to him. Blushing, she silently confessed to herself that she was in love with him, nearly dying of embarrassment in the bathtub. Just then, her mother interrupted her fantasy to ask why she was taking so long, wondering aloud if she was overwashing her safe zone. Tsumugi told her mother she was done bathing and made up her mind to confront Shintaro about Towa the next day. The following morning, Shintaro refused to take the lunchbox Towa had made for him because he did not know how he would explain it at school to his friends. This upset Towa, and she began to think he hated her, especially since he had chosen to sleep on the floor the previous night. Shintaro tried to explain that it was not proper for them to sleep in the same bed, but she guilt-tripped him so well that he had no choice but to take the lunchbox. He then told her he would be home very late because he had a shift at the cafe. This shocked Towa, who insisted on coming along, but he declined the offer. He told her that simply having her make his meals already made him happy, and upon hearing this, Towa felt like she just won the Grammy. Later that day, during lunch at school, Shintaro tried to sneak out of the classroom with his lunchbox, but was caught red-handed by Shuichi, who invited him to eat with the group. Meanwhile, Tsumugi debated whether to ask Shintaro if she should start making lunch for him, but she was surprised to see him already holding a box. When Shuichi asked about it, Shintaro lied, claiming he had saved an old hag who had repaid him by cooking for him. However, when he opened the box, the food was arranged in a heart shape with his name written in it. Shintaro tried to eat it quickly, but Tsumugi had already seen it and froze in shock, suspecting a girl had made it. Later that afternoon, as he headed to work, Shintaro's lies began to wear him out, and he wondered what new stories he would have to invent the next day. He eventually hit a breaking point and began to smack his head against a pole, hoping to knock some common sense back into his brain. Suddenly, he was approached by an old fortune teller who claimed he was entering an era of shoddy abundance. The woman offered him expensive talismans to keep the baddies at bay, but Shintaro, not falling for the scam, noped of the scene as fast as he could. At the cafe, his boss asked about his health and mentioned he had hired a new worker, a girl named Noel. Shintaro walked into the dressing room and was instantly shocked to find Noel, a blonde girl, undressed, wearing only a cherry-styled underwear. As he stared at her, she hurriedly covered herself and smacked him when he tried to apologize. A coworker noticed and asked about Shintaro's facial injury, but he brushed it off. Noel later offered him a cold towel for the swelling, and he took the opportunity to apologize for the dressing room accident. After she introduced herself as Noel Izumi, Shintaro playfully asked if she had been born on Christmas because of her name. Her sharp yes briefly made him panic, but she told him to forget the incident and walked away. Relieved, Shintaro was just glad she had not reported him to their boss. During their shift, Shintaro could not get the image of her cherry-themed armor of wonder out of his mind. He started smacking his head against the wall to trigger some amnesia. Eventually, his boss told them they could go home for the day and suggested they try a new parfait he had left for them in the fridge. Exhausted from the day's stress, Shintaro opened the break room door for Noel, who retrieved the parfaits and placed them on the table. When he saw the cherries on top, he was instantly reminded of Noel's cookie covering he had seen earlier. This had her all red like a tomato, as she realized Shintaro had recognized the pattern from her undergarments. He tried to defuse the situation by saying he did not remember anything, but this only made her more flustered. Suddenly, it began to snow inside the room, causing the room temperature to plummet. When Shintaro saw Noel trembling, he reached out to her, but she warned him to stay back, confessing that she was a frost demon. Meanwhile, out in the cafe, the customers began to feel the chill as their ice cream hardened. Back in the break room, Noel tried to play off her confession as a joke, lying that the cooling system was broken, but Shintaro noticed that the more she panicked, the more the snowstorm intensified. He told her he was fine with her secret, which surprised her, and he advised that they leave the building before anyone saw her in that state. After running away, Shintaro realized Noel was still clutching the parfaits. When she noticed it too, they both burst into laughter, and at the same time at the cafe, temperature returned to normal. Meanwhile, at Shintaro's house, Towa had just beaten a virtual fighting game's high score and wondered why Shintaro was still not home. Elsewhere, Tsumugi could not concentrate on her studies and decided to head out for ice cream. At a park after they finished the parfait, Shintaro attempted to break the awkward silence with a dejected Noel. She eventually asked if he truly believed she was a frost devil. When he confirmed that he did, she revealed that her family had been frost devils for generations. Noel explained that her family's heightened emotions triggered involuntary blizzards. Unlike her relatives, she lacked emotional control, which had led her to adopt an aloof persona that had left her isolated and friendless. Noel revealed she had taken the waitress job to overcome her social anxiety, but she quickly broke down in tears, convinced she had failed to learn control. As her emotions triggered a sudden blizzard, a startled Shintaro stepped in to comfort her. He praised her hard work and genuine progress with customers, firmly reassuring her that she was not a lost cause. Reassured, Noel stopped crying, and the blizzard cleared. She then asked Shintaro to be her first friend, to which he happily agreed, and they decided to use each other's first names. Unfortunately, their moment was interrupted when they spotted Towa flying overhead, a sight also witnessed by Tsumugi, who also happened to be in the park. All three of them began firing a barrage of questions at him. Shintaro, overwhelmed by all the questions, stopped them and asked Tsumugi why she was there. She then told him that she had come out to get some ice cream, and suddenly she became self-conscious because she looked mid and outdripped. Shintaro tried to pull a John Cena, acting like the girls hadn't seen Towa, but they refused, instantly making him depressed. As he wondered what new lies to tell to protect Towa, Noel started fangirling like a Twitch sub over Towa and her wings, much to Shintaro's surprise. Tsumugi then asked her if she was truly an angel, so Towa introduced herself and told them that she was an angel sent by God to make humans happy, leaving Tsumugi speechless. Later that day at the park, Shintaro explained that he had kept Towa a secret, as he wasn't going to be announcing that he had an angel for a roommate. Tsumugi soon connected the dots, realizing that it was Towa who made the lunch, not some made-up hag. Just then, she noticed Noel and asked what she was doing alone with him. Shintaro was surprised that she knew Noel, but she told him that Noel was known as the Ice Queen, because she didn't talk to anyone. Shintaro turned to confirm this from Noel, but saw her trembling and just about to summon another blizzard. He tried to defuse the situation that instant, explaining to Tsumugi that he and Noel were co-workers and had just left work. At that point, Towa apologized for flying out at night. However, he told her not to worry as he was the one who was late from work. After things had calmed down, Shintaro suggested that they head home, but Noel suddenly confessed to everyone that she was a frost demon, to his shock. Suddenly, she got flustered as she told them, and a blizzard appeared again, causing the winds to reveal her cherry slips. She went further, telling Towa and Tsumugi that this blizzard had happened earlier when Shintaro had seen her legendary artifact. Towa and Tsumugi were stunned at this revelation, but when he calmed Noel down, the blizzard stopped. Then he asked if her being a frost demon wasn't supposed to be a secret, and she told him it was, and seeing Towa reveal that she was an angel had encouraged her to do so as well. Meanwhile, Tsumugi was feeling left out of the loop, so he stepped up to reveal a secret, scaring Shintaro, who feared that she was also a supernatural being. However, she lamely confessed that she had stopped bedwetting a few years ago, and as she tried to reveal more brain-rot secrets, he begged her to stop and not kill them with cringe. Towa saw this, smiled, and thanked them for being kind. And as the girls interacted with each other, Shintaro watched his culture club grow with a smile. Later that night when they got home, Shintaro collapsed, exhausted from all the baddie issues he had to solve all day. Towa decided to make him a quick meal, and while she did, she asked him if he was upset that she had allowed her secret to be revealed. He told her he didn't mind, but warned her to be very careful in the future. The next morning, he had a weird dream where a government agent and some men in hazmat suits raided his apartment, accused him of harboring monsters, and took Noel and Towa away. That morning, as he walked to school sleep-deprived with bags under his eyes, he met Tsumugi, and was shocked to find out she was sleep-deprived as well. When he asked what the problem was, she said nothing, but inwardly, Tsumugi could not sleep the previous night because she had kept thinking of Towa and Shintaro playing family in his house. She felt sad, so she asked him if he was dating Towa or Noel. Shintaro was shocked and denied dating either of them, to Tsumugi's relief. Suddenly, Shuichi appeared and overheard Towa's name and asked Shintaro who that was. Immediately, Tsumugi covered up for him with a lie, for which he thanked her, happy that he had someone to share his secrets with. Later that day, as Shintaro happily headed home, he saw Noel being approached by two guys who asked her out, but she ignored them like filler characters. Suddenly, she spotted him and ran down, happily telling him she had been waiting for him so they could go out together. However, he reminded her that they both had work that day at the cafe, so she decided to shelve the plans for another day and wished him goodbye. Meanwhile, at his home, Towa was bored and wondered where Shintaro's workplace was. Just then, a cat interrupted her thoughts and approached her, and she asked if it knew where the cafe was. At the cafe, Shintaro spotted Noel, who waved excitedly at him, causing his boss to ask him if he and Noel were dating. He denied this, but his boss asked again and told him that earlier, Noel had told him to put her shift and Shintaro's together for the next month. Despite this, he insisted that they were just friends. Just then, a coworker overheard the conversation and told them she had wanted to be Noel's friend too, but Noel had straight up ignored her. At that moment, he went to attend to the customers but was surprised to see Tsumugi and Towa at the cafe. Towa revealed that a cat had led her there, and she had found Tsumugi outside. Tsumugi then lied and said she had come to get a parfait, but she really had come to see if Shintaro and Noel were dating. After he left their table, Tsumugi began to drool like a thirsty dog in heat over how hot he looked in his waiter uniform. Meanwhile, Towa overheard a customer asking for help and went over to assist her, but Tsumugi pulled her away, telling her that she wasn't a waiter. Just then, they spotted Noel, who noticed them as well and ran over to tell Shintaro excitedly that Towa was at the cafe. Her boss, seeing this, called her aside and told her to keep it together in her undies. Soon, a depressed Noel approached Shintaro and told him that they couldn't be friends while at work, because she didn't know how to control her emotions around him. After a while, Towa asked Tsumugi what Shintaro did at the cafe and was surprised when Tsumugi told her that this was his job that he did for money. Tsumugi then explained to her that sometimes student allowances were not enough. This meant that they had to work part-time to earn money, and then she excused herself to go to the restroom. Later that afternoon, Shintaro was shocked to find Towa attending to customers like a cafe waiter. Quickly, he grabbed her hand and took her out of the cafe. When he questioned her, she told him that she was trying to make his work easier so that he could come home early that day. He told her that he was paid hourly, and her work wouldn't change anything. Towa felt bad and told him that she felt like a burden on him, but he told her his life had gotten better since she had come into his life, adding that his apartment was cleaner and his meals were healthier now. When Towa heard this, she was happy, and told him she would be heading home to prepare dinner. Meanwhile, Shintaro's boss spied on them, excited at a potential love triangle between Shintaro, Noel, and Towa. Suddenly, Noel appeared and demanded that he separate her schedule from Shintaro's. One night, a few days later, while Towa prepared rice for dinner, Shintaro thought about how he had recently gone from using rice packs to using a rice cooker. He then asked Towa if she felt weird placing the cooker in front of the TV rather than in the kitchen. She told him that placing the cooker in the kitchen would have reduced her cooking space, and added that the outlets there weren't enough to accommodate the rice cooker in the first place. Shintaro, now curious, asked what the angels ate for food in heaven. She told him that in heaven, the trees had fruits that contained hot, cooked meals, and that she had only cooked as a hobby. Meanwhile, in Tsumugi's house, she was drawing images of Shintaro, Towa, and Noel, finding herself distracted and unable to focus on reading. She recalled that recently, Shintaro had been asking for advice on how to handle Towa. Sometime before, she had advised him to get a card for Towa so that she could take the city bus. But inwardly, she had wished he had also thought of getting her one. She remembered when he had first come to their school. He had told them he was staying at an old studio apartment that belonged to his aunt, and had basically forced his parents to allow him to stay there. Tsumugi was joyful that he was in their class because she had known him before. She was excited to see him again. Shuichi then advised Shintaro to avoid telling people he lived alone to prevent bad company and weirdos. Although he agreed, he told them that he had figured telling them was a good idea because they were his friends, and this made them like him even more. Presently, Tsumugi began to feel sad that she couldn't compete with an angel like Towa at his house, or a demon like Noel at his workplace. Feeling depressed, she got up and went to drink some milk to keep the video PG. As she drank, she lamented that Towa was a nice person and she couldn't help but like her. She wished she had made her move on Shintaro before Towa ever came into the picture. As she poured another drink, she complained that her life wasn't fair because her crush suddenly had a hot angel staying in his house. Her mother saw her drinking like a middle-aged, divorced salaryman who had just gotten fired and asked what the problem was. She asked her mother if, by chance, they were related to any supernatural beings because she was tired of being normal. Soon, her younger brother came down the stairs and asked for some snacks before going to bed, but was denied by her mother. Just then, her mother gave her a coupon to a donut shop, telling her it expired the next day. She was stunned for a moment, and as her younger brother complained that the coupon should have gone to him, she fantasized about having a romantic donut date with Shintaro. This unexpectedly cheered her up, and she hugged her surprised mom, telling her she loved her. The next day at school, she began to devise a plan to ask Shintaro out, but she struggled all throughout the day to say it aloud. Later that afternoon, as she held the coupon like a depressed housewife, Shuichi saw it and took it from her. When he saw it, he invited Shintaro to come with them to the donut shop, and Tsumugi was shocked and quietly thanked him for the assist. Suddenly, an ugly filler character reminded Shuichi that they had cleaning duty that day. This news made Tsumugi fall into a sudden depression, until Shuichi suggested that Shintaro and Tsumugi go together. This raised her spirits, and she told Shuichi that he was the best friend she had ever had. Later, as she walked with Shintaro to the donut date in high spirits, she was acting as if she had just won the lottery, but then he told her he wanted to make a quick stop at the library. When they got there, he informed her he wanted to do some research on angels and devils. Tsumugi joked by asking if he hoped to encounter more devils, but he simply told her he was curious. She then laughed it off, but inwardly she was worried that he might get in trouble. However, he thanked her for coming with him, which made her blush, and then he also thanked her for sharing her bedwetting secret with Noel and Towa in an attempt to get them to be at ease. After a while, they began to read about devils, but Shintaro soon fell asleep. As he slept, Tsumugi watched him and confessed to him that her greatest secret was that she was in love with him. That evening, they both stood outside because it was raining, and Shintaro blamed himself for oversleeping. He then suggested that Tsumugi take out the donuts and eat them at home. Tsumugi refused and ran into the rain with her umbrella, determined to eat them on a date with him. As they walked, a little kid in front of them tripped and fell like a drunk and broke his umbrella. Tsumugi was kind enough to give him hers, and the kid thanked them and left. As a result, they had to share an umbrella, which wasn't comfortable. Shintaro suggested buying a new one, but she blushed and asked to share his umbrella because they were almost at the donut store. She immediately folded and said to get the umbrella, but he told her that they should head to the store since they were close already, and they ended up eating the donuts there. The next day, after school, Shintaro and Noel met up to head home together. At first, he was worried that they might not have anything to talk about, but Noel ended up yapping more than a chainsaw. As they walked home, she suggested that they have a shared diary, but he shut down the idea, telling her to her surprised that people only did that stuff in movies. As they continued walking home, her schoolmates were surprised that she could talk when they saw her with Shintaro. When they got to a convenience store, Noel left for a while and went to buy a drink for him. As they shared the drink, she told him that despite being a frost demon, she still got a brain freeze when she drank cold stuff, causing them both to laugh. Shintaro in turn told her about the dream he had earlier, which made her laugh, and then she thanked him for the day. Before they parted and went separate routes, Noel reminded him that the next time they walked home, he would have to buy ice cream. She eventually got home that evening, and the moment she pulled off her clothes, she brought out the bottle cap and smiled excitedly. Sometime before all of that, Towa had already settled into her role as a full-time waifu at Shintaro's home. While she was busy with the laundry and chores, she heard a loud noise by the balcony window. Upon investigating, she discovered an angel, a cute little girl named Shu, who was her friend on the balcony. Excited to see her, Shu immediately threw her arms around Towa in a hug. When Shintaro returned home, the girl introduced herself as Shu, an angel and a friend of Towa's. She attempted to drag Towa back to heaven with her, but Towa refused. Eventually, Shu calmed down after having some milk, and Towa asked why she had come to Earth. Shu explained that she had received permission from God to find her, as Towa hadn't been in contact for a while, which had caused a great deal of worry. Shu explained that she had tracked Towa's aura and asked why she was staying in such a rundown dump. Towa clarified that the house belonged to Shintaro, a kind man, and that she was staying there with him. Shu was shocked by this revelation and warned Towa that human men could not be trusted, claiming they were all cultured degenerates and gooners. Towa defended him, insisting he was very nice, and offered Shu some food she had cooked for him. This news stunned Shu, and she got annoyed that Towa was cooking for a human and angrily asked if she did his laundry as well. At that point, Towa officially introduced Shintaro, but Shu got mad that the doofus had been sitting there the entire time. She threatened to permanently log him out of the life server for making a noble angel live in a dumpster fire and serve him. Towa tried to defuse the situation by explaining she was there of her own free will and scolded Shu for her harsh language. However, Shu remained determined to banish him to the Shadow Realm until Towa waved a carton of milk that instantly calmed the girl down. Much to Shintaro's surprise, though Shu still tried to convince her to leave, Towa reminded her that God had sent her to Earth specifically to learn about humans. Shu countered by asking how she could learn anything while trapped in a dump with a pathetic loser like Shintaro. Seeing as Towa didn't budge, Shu faced Shintaro instead. She told him that Towa had a high status as a baddie in heaven, of the Dayum caliber, who shouldn't have been living with him, a pathetic, risless loser. Surprisingly, Shintaro agreed, adding that everything Towa did came from a place of love and concern. Shu dismissed his words as lies and pleaded with Towa to return to heaven. Towa then recounted how she had met Shintaro, who had saved her from a lecher and had given her a place to stay. She explained that she wanted to remain by his side to bring him happiness. Upset by this, Shu called her a jerk and ran off crying. Worried she might get into trouble, the pair began searching the building. Shintaro suggested they check higher ground, so they took the elevator to the roof. During the ride, Towa apologized for Shu's behavior, but Shintaro dismissed it, noting that Shu's anger simply showed how much she cared. When they found Shu sitting sadly on the roof, Towa approached her, expressing gratitude for her concern and asked for a hug. As they embraced, Shu made a defiant face at Shintaro. Suddenly, the jewel on Shu's shirt began to beep, and a voice announced she would be returned to heaven in 1 minute. She cried and pleaded for more time, but once she realized Towa truly wouldn't follow her, she hesitated. She told Shintaro she would trust Towa's judgment, but warned him that if he ever hurt her, she would return and break his fishing rod. With that, she disappeared in a poof of smoke. While on the roof, Towa realized she had never been up there before and admired the plants. She admitted Shu was right about her needing to go out and learn about humans, and Shintaro agreed, though he admitted he had been worried she might get into trouble. He suggested that after dinner each day, they go for walks to get her used to the city. When he added that she could eventually move out on her own once she was comfortable, Towa embraced the idea, feeling glad she had met him. They eventually began their daily walks, and after some time, Shintaro decided Towa was ready to try public transit. But one day as they watched television together, he found himself worrying about her safety at a busy station. On the screen, Towa noticed advertisements for various stores and asked if the fruit shown was real. When Shintaro confirmed it was and asked if she wanted to see one, she happily agreed to visit one. Later, they arrived at the metro station where Shintaro taught her how to buy a ticket and board the train. Upon arriving at their destination, Towa was so excited that she grabbed his hand. They visited the store to buy the fruit they had seen on TV and then headed out for some sightseeing. When they arrived at the lake, they immediately rented a large swan boat. As they rowed, Shintaro found himself distracted by Towa's exposed legs. They passed an elderly couple who called them a cute couple, which sent his mind into overdrive. When Towa asked what the word couple meant, he was too flustered to answer. After docking the boat, Towa tried to hold his hand again to head toward a food stall, but Shintaro pulled back. He explained that only people in romantic relationships should hold hands like that. Suddenly, a woman on a phone call ran into Towa, knocking her down without apologizing. Shintaro helped her up and apologized for the woman's behavior, remarking that humans only cared about themselves. Towa wisely replied that people could not care for others if they did not first care for themselves. Realizing once again that Towa was a truly kind angel, Shintaro led her toward the food store. Later that night, they started heading home before it got late. When they got home, Towa found a hot red-haired lady who, to her surprise, jumped into Shintaro's arms and hugged him as soon as she saw him. Moments later, as the woman ate a meal prepared by Towa, she apologized for not coming to visit him often because she had been busy with work. She introduced herself as Mari, Shintaro's aunt, a manga artist who had the IQ of a fruitcake. As she ate, she told them that she hadn't slept for 3 days and was virtually a shut-in because of work. Towa was confused and asked what a manga artist was, prompting Shintaro to bring out a manga and show it to her. Mari was jealous that Shintaro did not own any of the manga she had drawn, and thought he should have been the first to buy her books. However, he told her he wouldn't have been caught dead reading any of her goon materials. This upset Mari, who broke into tears, but Shintaro ignored her and pointed out that she had just eaten their dinner. He then asked why she hadn't just eaten out while she waited, but the question somehow deleted her last brain cell and caused her to reboot. He also asked her how long she had been waiting at the door and why she hadn't called him. So she explained how she had left her phone at home because her manga editor had installed a tracking app to make sure she kept working. Suddenly, Shintaro's belly began to rumble. Towa then got up to prepare a meal. However, Mari stopped her and told them that she had some cake. As she brought out a huge parcel of cake, Shintaro wondered why she had so much on her. Mari then revealed that today was her birthday, but sadly no one had wished her a happy birthday. She told them that she had hoped her editor would wish her a happy birthday, but she hadn't, and then she began to cry. On hearing this, they sang the birthday song for her, but Mari kept crying like an abandoned puppy, which made Towa give her a napkin and try to console her. She thanked Towa and then asked Shintaro who she was. However, Bro was like a public gooner caught with his pants down, didn't know what to say until Towa stepped up and introduced herself. Shintaro was scared that she might reveal she was an angel, or that they were staying together, so interrupted her. And this made Mari assume that Towa was his girlfriend. She began to tease him mercilessly, but he denied it. He made things worse when he made up a half-assed lie about Towa being his classmate, and being on the school festival committee together. As a result, Mari faced Towa and began to ask about Shintaro's playboy behavior at school, causing him to panic. Mari then playfully teased Towa, accusing Shintaro of being mean to her, adding that she had changed his diaper and given him milk when he was a baby. When she revealed that she had grown up with him as a child, Towa smiled and said she would have loved to see Shintaro when he was a baby. Just then, Mari suddenly asked why Towa kept calling him Lord Shintaro. So Shintaro panicked and came up with a lie, telling her that Lord Shintaro was his nickname at school. Later that night, after everyone had eaten a piece of cake, Towa was at the counter making a cup of tea, and Mari joked about her being an angel and told Shintaro to marry her. After a while, she got up to use the bathroom, and when she noticed 2 toothbrushes, she questioned him about them. Shintaro was alarmed and made a ridiculous lie, saying he needed to brush his upper and lower teeth separately. After Mari used the toilet, she began thinking excitedly that Shintaro was now at that age where he could invite girls to his house. Suddenly, she got a dreadful feeling that he might have been overdoing it, and came out of the toilet and asked if he had been snorting any powders or hosting group sausage-rubbing parties at the apartment. Subsequently, she told the pair that it was getting quite late and it was time for Towa to go home, and they would see her off. This caused Towa to panic, but as they walked her partway home, Shintaro suggested that she should split up after some time and fly unseen back to the balcony. She was about to split off, but Mari called her back and thanked her for being friends with her nephew, after which she pleaded with her to help take care of him before waving her goodbye. Towa flew back to the balcony and saw that Mari and Shintaro had returned to the apartment. Just then, Mari told him that she had bought an overnight kit and intended to spend the night. This alarmed him because that would have meant Towa would have to sleep outside on the cold balcony. He tried to get her to return home that night, but she was angry at her editor for forgetting her birthday. Just as she cursed her editor, Shintaro recognized her name and told her that her editor was quite popular and was associated with several successful manga, which made Mari depressed because she wasn't quite popular. She then lay on the floor and told him to get her a blanket so that she could sleep. Seeing that he could not convince her to leave, Towa signaled to him from outside the window, telling him that she was alright and would just sleep on the balcony. Just then, the doorbell rang, and immediately Mari's spidey senses started tingling. So she immediately warned Shintaro not to open the door. When he ignored her and opened it, a red-eyed woman barged into the house, which scared Mari because it was the editor who had come to drag her back to work. Apparently, she had been searching for Mari and remembered she had bought this apartment some time ago. After a while, she noticed Shintaro and asked who he was, but Mari lied and said he was her son. However, he outed her in a heartbeat, telling the editor that he was actually her nephew, and thanked her for taking care of a scatterbrain like Mari. Suddenly, the editor immediately knelt and began to apologize to Shintaro, telling him Mari hadn't told her she had a nephew to take care of. Otherwise, she wouldn't have locked her up for 2 months if she had. The editor then promised to let her visit him from time to time, but to Mari's shock, he told the editor she didn't need to ever come and visit. When the editor approached Mari, she was scared like a spanked puppy, and surprisingly wished her a happy birthday. She told her that she had bought a cake to surprise her, but couldn't find her at home. This gesture touched Mari, who knew how busy the editor's schedule was, but the editor reassured her that Mari was an important artist to her, which excited her. After a while, they wished Shintaro goodbye and left the apartment to go back to work. Soon, Towa came in from the balcony and told him that his Aunt Mari was actually a fun person to hang around, adding that it was the first time she had seen him blush so much. The next day, Shintaro eagerly headed home after his shift at the cafe to eat dinner prepared by Towa. Suddenly, someone in a bunny jacket ran into him from behind. When he turned around, he found a cute, red-eyed girl wearing an eye patch. Just behind her were several goons chasing after her, and she immediately grabbed his shirt and begged for help, telling him that the men were after her. Shintaro immediately held her hand and ran off with her, leaving the men behind, although they had simply wanted to return a book she had dropped. When they got to an alleyway, Shintaro and the girl stopped to catch their breath. All of a sudden, she began to sniff him like a dog, which crept him out. She told him he smelled like a delicious piece of meat, and Shintaro said it was because he had just left the cafe, which must have been why he smelled like food. When he noticed the bandage wrapped around her leg, he asked if she was hurt. She told him it was just a cosplay costume and thanked him for rescuing her. He was curious and asked who the men chasing her were, and she said she didn't know, but assumed they were probably Helsing's descendants, a group of vampire hunters who had chased her across the sea. This information alarmed Shintaro, but soon she began to strike JoJo poses and introduced herself as Liliska, a vampire from the Transylvanian bloodline. At first he believed her, but suddenly one of her red eyes fell out, confirming they were just fake contact lenses. Shintaro, angry at almost falling for her nonsense, confronted her, but she insisted she was a vampire. He decided she was just a cosplayer with the IQ of a pumpkin and offered to take her home, but she told him she had a place she needed to be. Next, she led him to a maid cafe and told him she worked there. She asked him to wait outside so she could reward him for his help, but Shintaro was not interested in lowly maids and left. That night at dinner, he told Toa about the weird girl and her main character syndrome, but Toa didn't find anything strange about it. Later that night, while they slept, Liliska broke into Shintaro's apartment and began licking him like a lollipop. This woke him up and he screamed in fear when he saw her dressed in black with wings. Toa woke up as well and thought she was a pretty guest, but Shintaro reminded her that this was the weird girl he had met earlier. Liliska had to confess that she couldn't resist his smell and tracked him by his delicious scent. This made him flustered, but he managed to ask how she had gotten in, so she pointed to the balcony. When he saw the cracked window, he accused her of trespassing and told her to leave. However, she refused, saying she would not leave until she had licked him like ice cream. As Shintaro freaked out, Toa was simply delighted to meet a vampire. He kept insisting that Liliska wasn't one, but then Liliska began to fly with her wings, shocking him. She explained that she had worn the red contacts earlier because she had wanted to be known as a European vampire, then struck another JoJo pose and introduced herself again. Shintaro tried to get her to leave, but she refused and begged to lick him, bite his neck, or at least smell his farts, promising not to suck his blood. He was worried she might have bitten him already, but she told him she must ask for permission first. She added that she didn't need blood to survive, stating that even grape juice was good food for her. Hearing this, he decided to give her some juice from the fridge to send her away, but the sight of his neck made her floodgates erupt as she jumped on him more enthusiastically. That night, she refused to leave and kept bugging him to let her put her fangs in his neck, even if it was just the tip. The next day, they woke up to find out she was gone, and Toa was worried that Liliska might have been burnt to ash by the sun. As he headed to class, Shintaro kept thinking about the incident and hoped Liliska was okay so that Toa wouldn't worry. Just then, Tsumugi ran up to him and saw he was in a bad mood. Thinking he was sad because exams were close, she told him not to worry. Unfortunately, Bro had completely forgotten about the exams, and this got him spiraling into depression. During lunch break, he went to the cafeteria to get food for himself and Shuichi. As he headed to the school grounds to eat, Liliska suddenly appeared and licked some rice grains from his face, shocking him. He asked how she had found him at school, and she revealed she was also a student there and had tracked his smell. As he wondered if she was more of a dog than a vampire, he added that he thought she'd been burnt by the sun, but she revealed that while she disliked the sun, it didn't harm her. That afternoon, Shintaro asked his classmates about her. They told him her name was Sayuri and that she was a strange girl who had told everyone she was a vampire on her first day of school. Just then, Tsumugi spotted Liliska outside their classroom and pointed her out to Shintaro, whom she had been stalking. At the end of the school day, Shintaro was about to head home when Tsumugi approached him and gave him her notes to help him prepare for the forthcoming exams. Before he could answer, he saw a bat familiar with a message from Liliska asking him to come to her. He quickly ran after it, even ignoring Noel on the way. He followed the bat to a strange-looking door but refused to enter until Liliska opened it and invited him in. Inside the club room, she offered him the chance to become her servant, but he declined. She tried to add birthday coupons to spice up the deal, even going as far as promising him anything he wanted, but Shintaro turned her down. Saddened by his rejection, she asked if he was ashamed of being seen with her because she acted weird. He was speechless, but she told him she wanted to sniff him every day of her life. She then asked him again to become her slave, but he refused. Suddenly, she brought out her wings and said she wanted to sniff him now and negotiate later. As she approached to inhale his scent, the door of the club room opened, and Noel and Tsumugi fell in. Apparently, they had followed Shintaro and overheard the conversation. Noel immediately fell in love with Liliska and began fangirling while Liliska struck weird JoJo poses again. Meanwhile, Tsumugi was depressed that yet another supernatural baddie had been added to Shintaro's Infinity Gauntlet. Later, Liliska apologized for causing trouble and confessed that she had never lost control of herself before. She began to cry and pleaded with him for forgiveness, asking to be his friend. After thinking for a while, Shintaro accepted and invited her to his house, which cheered Liliska up instantly. A week after their exams, Shintaro, Noel, and Tsumugi were hanging out in the occult club room, each of them exhausted from their exams. A week prior, Noel had asked Shintaro if she could study at his house. Tsumugi, overhearing this, had opted to join the study group. Not wanting to be a nuisance to Toa, he had told them he would need to ask for her permission first, so Liliska suggested they use the occult club room instead. Presently, as they reminisced about how using the room had helped them, Liliska emerged from her casket. She declared that the true GOAT was Tsumugi, who had helped them prepare. Shintaro agreed, noting that without her help, they all would have failed. All three expressed their gratitude, leaving Tsumugi overwhelmed and flustered because Shintaro had called her by her first name for the first time. After a while, they decided to leave the occult club since they weren't official members. Noel suggested celebrating the end of exams at a cafe, and Shintaro invited Tsumugi and Liliska along. Suddenly, Liliska started striking weird poses and told Noel not to refer to her as Kagami, insisting she use her vampiric name, Liliska, which weirded out Shintaro. As they prepared to leave, Shintaro curiously asked about the other club members. Liliska explained that the club president was the strange skeleton in the room, making her the second member. Just as Shintaro opened the door, a cute girl coming from the other side fell through and landed on the floor. He tried to apologize, but upon seeing his ugly mug, she began to cry and hid behind Liliska. Just then, Liliska introduced her as Hisui Tsurumi, the third and final member of the club. Shintaro tried to make amends, but Hisui panicked and started crying her eyes out. Liliska then began spinning cringe stories about how Hisui despised humans, but in reality, Hisui was just shy and struggled with social anxiety. Tsumugi thanked them for the use of the room, and as they prepared to depart, Liliska decided to follow them with Hisui tagging along. On the way, Liliska explained that the occult club used to have more members, but they were all third years who had since graduated. Now that only she and Hisui remained, the club would lose its official status unless someone else joined. At this, Liliska announced she had found the group worthy and handed out membership applications. Although Shintaro turned her down immediately, Liliska tried to lure him in by mentioning they had air conditioning and soft drinks, and he actually considered it for a moment but still declined. Meanwhile, Noel and Tsumugi decided to follow Shintaro's lead regardless of his choice. Seeing an opportunity, Shintaro tried to talk to Hisui again, asking what she liked about the club, but she nearly burst into tears. He immediately apologized, telling her she didn't have to talk to him if she didn't want to. While deciding where to go, they noticed a festival at the end of the street. Shintaro noticed Hisui's interest in the event, but when she caught him staring, she hid behind Liliska, making him feel as though she hated him. As they browsed the stalls, Hisui opened up a little, telling Tsumugi how much she loved festivals. Suddenly, Shintaro realized Liliska had disappeared, only to find her at a stall buying loads of snacks. Shintaro confided in Liliska that he thought Hisui was afraid of him. Unfortunately, Hisui overheard this, and when he tried to apologize, she shrank away as if he had mad cow disease. Liliska casually suggested it might be because Shintaro had seen Hisui's white armor of wonders when she fell, which he strongly denied. Noel told him that even if he had, it was clearly an accident. Shintaro desperately tried to explain himself to Hisui, who was clearly trying to speak to him as well, but could not find the words. At that point, Noel grabbed Shintaro's hand and led him away. The group moved from store to store, stuffing themselves with ice cream and food. Eventually, the girls headed to a buttered potato stand, while Shintaro wandered off alone and found a stand selling cucumbers on ice. As he was about to buy one, Hisui approached the stand, not noticing him. He startled her by speaking, so he ordered 2 cucumbers and gave her one. He told her he would eat elsewhere so she didn't feel uncomfortable, but she managed to tell him there had been a misunderstanding. Before she could explain, the other girls showed up and interrupted them. Sometime after the festival, the group stood on a bridge where Shintaro thought about how much fun he just had, and considered returning with Toa later. Just then, Liliska stood atop the bridge railing. Watching the sunset, she spoke gibberish like a drunken sailor before stepping off the platform. Forgetting she could fly, Shintaro ran to catch her, but instead fell into the river. As he began to drown, Hisui jumped in and rescued him. Once they were out of the water, Liliska apologized for getting carried away, and Shintaro thanked Hisui for saving his life. At that point, she overcame her anxiety and explained that she wasn't scared of him, as she simply didn't know how to talk to boys. Hearing this, Shintaro was relieved and apologized as well, noting that he had seen her effort to try and speak with him. Suddenly, a halo appeared on Hisui's head. The group was shocked, thinking she was an angel, until they noticed the shell on her back and realized she was actually a kappa, a water spirit. This discovery sent Tsumugi into a slump, realizing yet another supernatural baddie had joined the harem. However, Liliska revealed she had known Hisui was a kappa but didn't have permission to tell anyone. After confirming that eating the cucumbers had caused the transformation, Liliska informed the group that Hisui was the heir to a massive kappa conglomerate that secretly ran Japan. Hisui panicked now that her secret was out, but Noel consoled her, promising they would all keep her secret. This made Hisui happy, and Shintaro then told her he would like to introduce her to someone, and brought Toa over. Toa was excited to meet a kappa, and Hisui was equally shocked to meet an angel, so they trauma bond like creeps. A few days later, as Toa cooked dinner, Shintaro narrated a workplace incident that had recently made him angry. He noted that he had never seen Toa angry before, and wondered if she simply did not experience the emotion because of her angelic nature. She insisted that she got angry too, but when he asked for an example, she could not remember a single instance. He reminded her that she had not even gotten upset with the woman who had bumped into her at the station, which reinforced his belief in her kindness. However, he then remembered Shiu, the other angel, who had once threatened to permanently delete his save file. He stood up behind Toa to check on dinner, but he startled her and quickly apologized. Toa then tried to feed him a piece of food like a baby, but Shintaro was too flustered to accept it. Instead, he took the plate from her hands, ate, and praised her cooking. The next day after school, Tsumugi, Shintaro, and Noel were on their way home when Noel noticed a new cafe, so she immediately grabbed him to go check it out. Meanwhile, Toa was out shopping and saw them through the cafe window, remembering that it was a half day at school. She watched as Noel tried to feed Shintaro ice cream, just as she had tried to feed him the night before, and she noticed she felt a sudden spark of anger. Meanwhile, at the table, he refused the spoon and told Noel he could feed himself. Later that day, Shintaro brought home a piece of cake for Toa. When he offered it to her, he was surprised when she rejected it. He asked if she was mad at him, but she wasn't sure because she did not quite understand the feeling. Eventually, she asked for the cake and ate it. As she did, Shintaro mentioned that summer break began the next day and suggested they could start going out together, though not too far, as he was currently broke. Toa was thrilled by the idea and told him that living with him was a lot of fun, which made Shintaro blush fresh like a tomato. Elsewhere, Noel was watching a show about making friends and remembered how she had once lost control of her powers and had to stop going to school because she had freaked out her friends. She turned off the television and went to bed, thinking Shintaro was worth more than 100 friends. She then checked her phone and decided to invite him to a movie after his shift the next day. The following day at the cafe, Noel met her boss at the door but ignored him the moment she saw Shintaro. However, before she could talk to him, she was shocked to find everyone else there. Tawa explained that Shintaro had invited her, and everyone else at the table had their own reasons for dropping by. Shintaro's boss watched the scene, impressed by the group of baddies surrounding him, and called Shintaro a true man of culture. Noel asked Shintaro if he would like to see a movie with her, but to her surprise, he politely declined because he had to cover a shift for a coworker. Feeling dejected, Noel nearly broke into tears, causing a small blizzard to start. Fortunately, Liliska and the others revealed they also wanted to see that specific movie and invited her to join them. Tawa was feeling like a 10th wheel, then asked what a movie was, and after Shintaro explained it to her, Tsumugi extended the invitation to Towa as well. On their way to the cinema, Noel was sad because she wanted a private outing with Shintaro, not a group trip with the girls. She struggled to relate to them without him present, but her mood shifted when Towa told her how excited she was for the experience. While waiting in the lobby, Noel thought about buying a popcorn bucket, but decided it was too much for one person. This made Tsumugi approach her and suggested they split one. Later, just before the film started, Towa held Noel's hand and admitted she was a bit nervous. Soon the movie started and it featured a cat leading a boy to a haunted mansion, where he encountered a girl floating in space. By the time it ended, Noel was so thrilled she decided to add it to her recommended list. Tawa told the group she had enjoyed the experience much more than watching TV at home, so Liliska suggested they should all watch it again with Shintaro once it hits streaming platforms. As they headed home, the girls discussed the plot. Noel initially stayed on her phone, wanting to see Shintaro as soon as possible, but she instinctively joined the discussion when they mentioned a part she had liked. She soon realized she was actually having fun without Shintaro, which was strange. When the girls thanked her for the awesome recommendation, Noel felt ashamed for almost neglecting them and wanting to be alone with Shintaro. When she then thanked them for coming along even though they weren't friends, everyone was surprised by her statement. Noel naively explained that Shintaro was the only person she had ever asked to be her friend. However, the girls told her she had never needed to ask because all the time they had spent working and playing together had already made them friends. Overjoyed, Noel ran away happily in tears before she created another blizzard. She thought about how many friends she had made thanks to Shintaro, but then realized her feelings for him went beyond friendship. Just then, he appeared in front of her like a hero from a movie. She confessed to him that she saw him as not just a friend, but her best friend. When the other girls caught up and they all left together, Noel wondered to herself if best friend was really the right choice of words. Episode 11. A few days later, Shintaro and Towa stood in front of a massive building, gawking like tourists. When Towa asked if he was sure this was the right place, he checked a card and confirmed it. Just then, a security woman appeared and welcomed them inside. At the top of the building, a helicopter picked up Shintaro and his friends to whisk them away to a private island. Upon their arrival, Hisui welcomed them, though the group was still buzzing with excitement from the flight. Amazed by Hisui's background, Tsumugi pointed out that the chopper even had her name on it, realizing the Tsurumi family was stinkily rich. This prompted Liliska to remind everyone that Hisui was a Nippo baby, whose grandfather secretly ran Japan and oversaw multiple conglomerates. Hisui led them to the vacation house, where they were met by staff who introduced themselves as Kappa maids. As they entered, they marveled at the size of the estate and the long line of attendants waiting for them. Soon, they reached a pond, where the maids recounted a tragic tale about two lovers who tried to exchange a plot rod for a plot hole in a process called shirakodama. When Shintaro curiously asked what that meant, the maids became agitated and told him never to ask such questions. After a while, they arrived at a large suite where they would be staying, and Liliska announced she had planned a special event for everyone after dinner. As they deliberated on how to spend their free time, the maids suggested sumo wrestling, adding that the Kappa family loved sumo and cucumbers. Fortunately, another maid suggested a swim in the ocean, an idea everyone loved. Inside the house, the girls went wild, picking out outfits in the swimsuit section. However, when Shintaro asked for men's trunks, the maids were shocked to learn he was a man. Immediately, other maids swarmed the room as if they had never seen a sausage wielder before. At the beach, the maids apologized for only being able to find Shintaro a pair of shorts from a female swimsuit set. They expressed their amazement that he was actually male, explaining they had assumed he was a girl whose family had forced him to dress like a man. They further explained that Hisui had grown up exclusively around women, knowing only her male relatives, so she had to remain pure. At that point, Shintaro began to wonder if staying on the island was a good idea. Just then, Towa emerged wearing a swimsuit and radiating hot, shoddy energy. Shintaro froze, not knowing where to look, and was soon joined by the other girls in their own swimwear. Tsumugi became extremely self-conscious, wondering if her assets and melons were thick enough in the right places to catch Shintaro's eye, while Noel immediately invited him to play beach ball. Suddenly, Liliska appeared and startled Shintaro because she was wearing a full-body diving suit, so she complained that the beach sun was too much for a vampire to handle. Noel grabbed Shintaro's arm, and they ran into the sea, with the other girls following close behind. As they played games and enjoyed a barbecue, the girls teased Towa, recalling how she had asked how many packets of salt were in the ocean when she first saw it. After a while, Shintaro tried to talk to Hisui, who was still shy. To help her loosen up, he insisted on calling her by her first name. She shyly agreed before running to Liliska, amazed that a boy had finally done that. Later, Towa joined Shintaro and admitted she loved the beach experience, even if she felt a bit embarrassed wearing so little. As the sun set, the maids arrived with towels and offered hot spring baths. They regretfully informed Shintaro that all the springs were reserved for women, suggesting he bathe in the yard or wait until after dinner. After he finished his bath, Liliska appeared and showed him the swimsuit she couldn't wear earlier, leaving him confused as to why she was showing him then. Meanwhile, the girls enjoyed the hot springs. Liliska mentioned that this particular spring was named after Hisui and was where she had bathed as a baby. Noel, missing Shintaro, wished he were there, which triggered dirty thoughts in Tsumugi. On the other side of the spring, Tsumugi noticed that Towa's knockers were as big as melons, and Noel's fun balloons were like peanuts compared to her own. Noel caught her staring and offered to let her fondle her bundle, which she declined. Liliska then claimed it was tradition for women to rub each other's melons at hot springs, a lie Tsumugi quickly called out, shocking Noel, who stupidly believed it. As they chatted, it began to snow in the spring. However, they soon realized the blizzard was coming from Noel, who felt everything she had learned today was a lie. Elsewhere, Shintaro waited bored until the maids approached him. They decided to forget he was a man and allowed him to stay, noting they hadn't seen Hisui this happy in a long time. However, they threatened to break his magic wand if he tried anything funny. The group spent the night eating and playing cards until they began to doze off, prompting Shintaro to suggest they head to bed. Shintaro was placed in a separate room from the girls, but unable to sleep, he decided to visit the warm springs late at night. Unfortunately, he ran into Hisui, who was also bathing. They both screamed, but when he tried to flee, she insisted he stay while she bathed on the other side. Shintaro was worried about the maid's threats, but Hisui began to open up. She thanked him for coming, noting that everyone else had followed because of him, and that his pure spirit attracted people. Curious, Shintaro asked why a Nippo baby would attend their school. She explained that she had once saved an old fortune teller from drowning, who had predicted she would meet her dream man there. This had prompted her to ditch her plans for an all-girls school, and she told him she was glad she had made that choice because she had met them all. That night, on his way back to his room, the maids intercepted Shintaro and forced him into a sumo wrestling match as punishment for bathing with Hisui. Episode 12. Later that night, an exhausted Shintaro returned to his room after sparring with the maids. Out of habit, he wished Towa good night before remembering he wasn't at home. Suddenly, Liliska burst into his room and startled him, declaring that they had forgotten to perform a devil summoning. A few moments later, at the beach, the group gathered around a bonfire. Shintaro questioned why Liliska would disturb their sleep for something as silly as a summoning, but she insisted it was a vital right for potential members of the occult club. Claiming to have the directions in a book, she told them that while she had failed in the past, their chances of success were higher if they worked together. Noel and the other girls also agreed, thinking it would be an exciting experience. Next, Liliska read a chant from the book and explained they had to recite it 3 times. However, she admitted she wasn't sure what she might summon, adding that the being must have had a desire to come to their location. Noel fearfully asked if the ritual required a sacrifice, and Liliska confirmed that she planned to sacrifice a chicken that had never laid an egg. Towa, who was half asleep, protested that this was too cruel, but Liliska reassured her that they were simply using a chicken-shaped cookie. As she broke the cookie in 2 and began the chant, the others joined in, and as they finished the final line, a massive whirlwind quenched the bonfire. On the ground, Shu the angel appeared while clutching a bottle of milk. She looked surprised but dipped faster than my ex when she finally saw the miniman I was packing. The group was amazed that the summoning actually worked, but Liliska fainted in shock, and upon waking, she suggested the summon hadn't lasted because they already had an angel in their presence. Noel became eager to try again, prompting Liliska to ask her to join the occult club. Noel refused but remained determined to perform another ritual. Meanwhile, Towa and Shintaro agreed that their group was essentially a collection of supernatural weirdos. Meanwhile, back in heaven, Shu wondered if the encounter had been just a dream. As they headed back to their rooms, the group realized they were no longer sleepy, so Noel suggested they light fireworks. Shintaro agreed, but he pointed out they didn't have any. Suddenly, the maids appeared and showed them a room filled with fireworks to their surprise. They spent the night shooting them off, and Shintaro taught Towa how to light one. Though she was initially terrified it would explode, he reassured her it was safe. After it caught fire, they smiled at each other like 2 dummies without brain cells, making Tsumugi jealous. Noel interrupted them and called Shintaro over to help. As he approached, he asked how long the girls had been using first names with each other. Noel explained it had started recently and suggested that he and Tsumugi do the same. Tsumugi immediately began fantasizing about him calling her by her name, and she hesitated a bit but eventually called him Shintaro. However, he declined to call her Tsumugi because it didn't feel right to him yet. As he helped her light a firework, she resolved to win his affection one day. Oblivious of Tsumugi's feelings, Shintaro smiled as he watched Towa having the time of her life. The next day, Shintaro and Towa arrived at the Tokyo Skytree, which was a huge broadcast tower. She told him she was glad to spend the day with him, and he explained that the tower was a broadcasting station responsible for the shows she watched on TV. Upon hearing this, Towa bowed and thanked the tower. Later that morning, they visited a supermarket and came across a kimono rental shop. Shintaro awkwardly asked Towa if she would like to try one on. She agreed, and when she asked how she looked, he shyly told her she looked really cute. As they walked, Towa's beauty turned heads, with passersby stopping to admire her, which made Shintaro proud. They eventually reached the lobby to buy tickets to the top, only to find the observation deck was closed for the day. Towa asked if getting to the top cost money, which he confirmed, so she calculated that they could have bought 30 radishes for the price of 2 tickets. Although he told her not to worry because that was why he worked, Towa even tried to take off the kimono when she realized it also cost money, and Shintaro quickly stopped her, insisting that the rentals and the trip were his idea. They managed to reach a high floor where they could see most of the city, and Towa was amazed by the skyscrapers, adding that humanity was truly impressive. At the tower, they encountered people who were afraid of heights. Towa didn't understand the fear, but Shintaro explained that humans would die if they fell from such a distance. She began to panic, realizing he wasn't safe like she was, but he told her he believed she would save him if he ever fell. Later that afternoon, they visited a gift shop where Shintaro noticed Towa admiring a snow globe before putting it back. As they watched travelers passing by, Shintaro explained that most were going to spend the summer with their families. Towa asked if he missed his own family, and he told her they were all overseas, but he didn't feel lonely as long as she was there with him. They decided to eat lunch outside, but after wandering for a while, they were briefly separated in a crowd. Once Shintaro found her, they held onto each other's clothing, like a bunch of thieves, because they were too embarrassed to hold hands. That night, as they walked away from the tower, Towa admitted she didn't want the day to end. He told her they could have fun any day and surprised her with the snow globe she had wanted. To repay him, she took him to an alleyway and told him to close his eyes. Shintaro thought she wanted to kiss him and told her it was too early for that. But when he opened his eyes, he discovered they were floating in the sky at the very top of the tower. He was so thrilled to see the world through her eyes, but then Towa thanked him for the wonderful experience, telling him she still had a lot to learn about humans from him. Who among the supernatural baddies do you think Shintaro would end up with? Comment here if you want more of such recaps. Do something like, he finds her, they are forced to live together, and then they fall in love. Chill romance.